Oh, man.
Hey, old man on the mat crew. This is Tony Jones, the original old man on the mat. I am so focused, just so fired up today, guys. As usual, I always say I'm fired up. And I'm still trying to coin that new phrase of more experienced as opposed to just that old guy. I like the more experience. It makes me feel still like I'm young. But, guys, it's going to be a great episode today. I have with me somebody that's not in our normal age group. But that's completely fine because, as you know, with our platform, we're just trying to find people out there who are doing things, period. They're not sitting on the couch. They're just out there making things happen and giving out to the different communities out there, the martial arts community, the fitness, just life. And we have a young lady here who I followed for a little while. And I'm really impressed with it at her age and what she's been doing with her life. Just to give you a little bit of background for you with her. She's a 5th degree black belt in Kukkiwon. She's a certified master instructor in that. Let's just jump into this. She's the owner of Legacy Martial Arts out there in Sterling, Illinois. And with that, guys, I give you Master Jane Dillon. Hey, Jane, how you doing, girl?
Hi, good. How are you?
Hey, I'm still alive at my age, right?
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, listen, I know you're busy out there. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to a whole bunch of old farts out here. All right. But I see here you're from Sterling, Illinois. And I remember Sterling from maybe 25 years ago. I was driving there going to Iowa, and I remember it had a toll booth at the end, and my transmission died right at that toll booth. So I hated Sterling for a long time. So I think my car's still out there.
Tolls are a good reason to hate it.
Hey, talk to me. I'm trying to get out of Illinois. I've been saying that for the last 10 years, though. But I'll get out of here eventually. But now, you've been in martial arts, I want to say forever. But at your age, you're 27 years old. You're kicking the door down on success. Now, what got you started in martial arts?
When I was about 2 years old, my dad started taking martial arts in Glen Ellen at a martial arts school that at the time was adults only. And he would come home and teach me basically everything that he learned in class. And after a while, he would start bringing me, and I would sit and watch him take class. And I would mock and mimic and do all the things that the adults were doing in class over on the side. And finally, the master instructor let me come on the mat and take class with my dad. Then in 2002, my dad got called up to active duty with the U.S. National Guard. Okay. After 9/11, he kind of had this feeling that it was going to happen, and when it did, he immediately took us over to the martial arts studio and had my mom order him some mat shoes so that he could continue training overseas. While he was overseas, he used it. He kind of treated it like prison. He worked out basically any free moment that he had. He trained with other armies from other countries. Where he was stationed, he wasn't on a U.S. base, he was on an international base, and so every day they would rotate who would cook dinner. Some nights it would be the Germans, some nights it would be the Italians, some nights it would be the Polish, and he would also train with all of them in their styles. And so while he was doing this overseas, I got to take over the membership that he had at his Taekwondo school, and I used it as a way to get closer to him. He was half a world away. I was 5 years old, and my mom had a 6-week-old, my younger sister. And so she was single parenting it, and she used the dojang as her escape from the obstinate child that I was. And I used it as a way to be closer to my dad, but then also, it helped instill the discipline that she struggled to instill in my obstinate self.
Wow. So that's a start for you. That's a serious start in the martial arts.
Yep.
So when did you decide this was going to be, I'm going to 100% with this, other than being a bad kid? I'm going to really knock the door down this thing and run with it.
It was 2006. In 2005, I tested for my black belt. My dad was getting ready to deploy for a second time. This time, instead of Afghanistan, he went to Iraq, and it was a lot more of a dangerous deployment, and they were afraid that he wasn't going to make it back. So he struck up an agreement with my instructor, and said, if you can train her every single day outside of class on top of the normal classes, we can get her ready for black belt. I know we don't normally test kids that young, but we want you to be able to see it. So he got me ready, and in 2005, I took my black belt test. And then when he came back in 2006, he surprised me at school. It was one of those military reunions that makes everybody cry. It was exactly like that. He surprised me in school. And right after that, I told him, I'm going to pursue martial arts for my livelihood. And you know how kids are like, oh, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a police officer. I wanted to own a martial arts school. And
That's awesome.
To some degree, my parents were like, yeah, sure, okay. But then I never wavered from that. I never said, I wanted to do anything else. It was always Taekwondo. So then when I got to high school, all the classes that I took, all my electives, everything was geared around martial arts. If it did not benefit martial arts and my career directly, I didn't want nothing to do with it.
Oh man, that's pretty good.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So when did you start your legacy over there?
So legacy started in 2016. I was 19 years old. I was a year and a half out of high school. I graduated high school a semester early, so I was 17. I taught at a whole bunch of different schools after I graduated high school in order to learn what I wanted to and what I wanted to avoid when having my own school. All that time, I was critiquing the business plan that I'd written in high school. And when I started looking at real estate, I discovered Sterling. I had never been there before, but I really liked the atmosphere of the town. I liked the people. I liked the cheap real estate. And so I was able to, with using the business plan, convince my family that I would be able to feasibly open a school using the remainder of my college fund that I was not going to use on school because I was done with school.
You were done. Okay.
They said, I was done. They said, yes, you're good. Let's do it. And we found the building. And within a month of finding the building, I had purchased it, moved in, and a month later, I opened Legacy. So, 2016, wow. We've been open. And so, it's been a crazy ride.
That's pretty cool. I love that kind of stuff, man. I'm telling you, because you followed the dream. I love that kind of stuff, man. That's pretty cool. Now, how big is your school now?
Well, right now, ever since COVID, we have been in the 30 to 50 student range, which prior to COVID, we were at 75 to 100. We also had a whole bunch of instructors at the time, and now it's just myself and my teenage brother. So we don't have nearly as much support as we did before COVID, but I am actually perfectly okay with that, because the smaller the school, the more quality instruction that I feel like I can give my students, the more one-on-one time that I can give with them, and the less likely it is for me to pass off classes to other students, other instructors.
Yeah. Wow. But that makes sense, though. That makes a lot of sense, because it seems like everybody after COVID, in the community of martial arts, and you're out there too. So you've seen a lot of schools fall to the wayside, or they shrunk drastically. And I get it. Our school at the time, when I had my own schools during the COVID time, I went and did the Zoom. I did all the things I tried to do to make it roll, So that's pretty, but my biggest thing to try to understand is, and not trying to be sexist or anything like that, but I would say a young lady being the head instructor, you had to come against some of the meatheads out there, like, I don't want to listen to her.
Yeah.
What does she know?
You know, you would be surprised. I actually get a lot more of that type of behavior and that type of attitude from my peers within the martial arts school owning community
Really?
than I do parents of potential students. Um, it's kind of
Wow. But
surprising,
I
but
can see
the
that.
same people, yeah, the same people who are like, we support you, we want to do what we can. They came to my grand opening, and gifted me a flag with the World Taekwondo Federation for my school. At the very same time, the very same visit, are like, you're kind of young. I don't think you've paid your dues yet. And they use that phrase, and I'm just like, this is why I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Right?
Yeah.
What dues? What dues do you have to pay? I don't understand. Is there a membership due
I,
or something?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Uh, you know, and the sad thing about all that is our martial arts community is never perfect by any stretch,
Right.
but we have a lot of me heads out there too. Because and my coming through martial arts, I've been starts from 8 years old, and I tell my story a lot about everyone was talking about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and everywhere I went for Brazilian jiu-jitsu, all the guys were dicks. I mean, just oh my gosh, they figure because you're a black belt and other stuff, so they want to challenge you, and I'm like. I've been through
Um,
so many schools, and I finally found a school that you go in there, everybody's just like, okay, let's learn together. It's not a competition. And I've been there ever since, you know. But
yeah,
we have a lot, martial arts community can have a lot of dicks. Excuse my French. I don't even know French, but excuse it anyway. But man,
it
but
can, but there are so many awesome people, specifically of my generation and the generation right ahead of me, the millennials and whichever one is ahead of that, Gen X, I think,
oh,
who
Gen
are really
X. Yeah.
coming into the martial arts community and taking over for our prior generations and kind of bringing in some new light, some new energy, and some new
Yeah.
ideas
Yeah.
to the AAU Association and USA Taekwondo Association as well.
Gotcha. Because here, real quick, because here you are at the AAU National Forums Champion from 2017 to 2018. You're
Yep.
also a USAT National Weapons Championship champion from 2013. So, man,
Yeah.
okay. And you're also in the Hall of Fame. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, I love every bit of it. That's good stuff. But Ben, now are you still running into any of these challenges where you're trying to launch you because you're basically relaunching yourself all the time? Am I right or no?
Relaunching myself with regard to,
The martial arts school or trying to grow it all the time. You know what I mean?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So since I came up under some pretty strict Korean instructors, my idea for advertising is very different than that of
Hmm.
my multimillionaire school owner peers. I
Okay.
don't believe in advertising, specifically like paying for Facebook advertising and doing um, newspapers and radio ads and, the typical traditional advertising that you see,
Yeah.
as compared to word of mouth, vendor booths, that kind of community work for marketing.
Yeah.
Because in the Korean mentality, if you are advertising or marketing too much, it's no longer humble. And so
Mm.
I am perfectly okay keeping my school small, and the students who want to show up will show up. If I am
Okay.
not going out and calling leads constantly, um, it's no skin off my back, because if students don't want to be here, they're not going to be. I'm doing
Okay.
enough in our community to bring attention to the school and get our name out there without oversaturating the social media, advertising, that kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, because out there online, you see everything. You see, geez, it's so inundated out there with all the different schools, and
Right,
you know, just from where I live now, I'm out here, and I mean, throwing a rock, you hit like 5 schools right around you of everything. Now, do you
right.
guys have a lot of schools out there in Sterling, or are you the only one in that general area?
We are the only Taekwondo full time studio in our area. We do have a Park District program which meets 2 days a week and is a lot more fun based and kind of babysitting based than it is actual Taekwondo or competition based. Um,
Hmm.
and then we've also got a jujitsu school, and I have a great relationship with them. If we have anybody coming in who really just want to scrap and fight, I will send them there.
Yeah.
If they've got anybody who
Okay.
want to do the kind of head kicking and that kind of thing, they send them to us.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. You guys are working at the same building or different locations?
No, we're just across town.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Now, are you studying Brazilian Jiu Jitsu also, or that's just something you're just not getting into? You're sticking with Taekwondo and Kukkiwon?
I strictly do the Taekwondo, Kukkiwon, Korean arts, mostly because
Hmm.
I know the risk of injury with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. One of my good friends, Mariah, is a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and she's constantly getting injured. And in her line of
Hmm.
work as a massage therapist, she can handle that. Me, as a full time
Yeah.
school owner, if I were to get injured, it would be detrimental to my career.
Gotcha.
So I will avoid that like the plague. I don't knock anybody who does it.
Okay.
It's great if you can handle that kind of thing, but these rickety knees cannot.
I feel you. And you're young, and when you get to my age, everything hurts every day. And I train. Oh my God! Right before we came on, I was
Yep.
just finishing up at a training at my buddy's gym out there, and I'm still the old fart on there. And you always got to try to prove the young guys, I still got it. Wait a minute, where's my cane? It hurts, but if you're a martial artist, you're a martial artist. Doesn't matter what art you're in. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
Now, let me ask you: have you seen? And I love this question because everyone has different perspective on it or different thought process on it. Have you seen from when you started, which was yesterday? No, I'm just joking with your age, but when you started, has things changed? Because I asked that because I see it, and old school, old guy, been in it for since I was 8, the whole thing, and I personally think, just my personal opinion, things have gotten too much. Everybody gets a black belt today, especially when it comes to the kids
Not
program.
even just everybody gets a black belt, but everybody gets a medal. Um,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
since Legacy, my school is a very competitive based. We do have recreational classes, but it is very competitive based. My students are used to competing at a world class level, and at that level, it's not expected that everybody gets a medal. But in the
Awesome.
grassroots level, everybody gets a medal, and it kind of takes away from the um, importance of gold, silver, and bronze.
Hmm.
So I very much am in agreement that martial arts has changed as we as society have gotten more consumer based and capitalist
Yeah.
based. I think a lot of it has to do with money, and I think a lot of it also has to do with parenting and just giving the kids what they want.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit it right there. You hit it right on the head right there. And I think it's the parents that really just hurt the martial arts. And I see a
Yep.
lot of times where everything goes in a season, quote unquote, because this is football season or this is dance season, and when is your season over for martial arts? And they don't realize this is you know there's
Year
no
round
season.
thing.
It's just you're training martial arts
Right.
all the time. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I think the parents now, little Billy or little Jane, they got their, not you, Jane, but another Jane, got your, you have dance and you got your whatever medal for that. It should be the same thing in martial arts.
Right. And it's
Do
very
you
much
do you
not.
have a lot of? No, it's not. It's not because you give them a little belt that he doesn't deserve, he or she doesn't deserve. They can get hurt
Mm-hmm.
that way. You know.
Yep.
Now, do you see the parents? Does a lot of parents come up to you and say, "I think little Billy should have been promoted" and all this other stuff?
Again, I'm going to bring it back to competition. It's more, I have parents who come up to me and say, why won't you let my 5-year-old go to nationals? And
Okay.
when I say your 5-year-old is 5 years old and not ready and hasn't done the time or the work or, the extra private
Mhm.
lessons that the rest of their school who is going to nationals have done, you'd think that answer would stand for itself. But instead, said parents tend to do what they want and sign the kid up anyway. Um,
Wow.
and it's only detrimental to the kid when they inevitably lose and then feel, well, now I'm not good at martial arts. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Same thing could be
Yeah.
said about, if you have a student who's going to be testing. Parents want them to test. Instructor says, I really don't think they're ready, but the parents keep pushing for it. Fine, I'll let them test. And then they fail. And they blame you as the instructor for failing them instead
Mm-hmm.
of blaming themselves for pushing their kid into something where they weren't ready, or the kid, depending on how old the kid is, or blaming the kid for not doing the work that was necessary to get promoted.
Wow. How do they blame the kid? It's the parents' fault.
Well,
Wow.
it depends on how old the kid is. If the kid is
Mm-hmm.
13 and going to class every day and still not ready and has been training for months upon months upon months, and the parents are like, yeah, we've been at this belt for 6 months or a year, and the kid is just in la la land during class, they're not going to be ready. Then in that case, it's the kid's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, yeah, that's
So
exactly what you mean. But too, I still at a certain point to a certain age, I still personally, I think it's a lot of it is the parents' fault because they didn't instill
agreed.
values in the
Values.
kid or letting the kid realize, you can't quit everything, you can't get everything you
Right.
want. You have to work
Right.
for it. If you don't deserve it, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And being at our age group of, that's the way we came up the ranks. You didn't if you didn't test, you didn't test. You didn't get to go
Right.
to the next tournament. You didn't get to go to the next tournament. No crying about it. You just didn't do it.
Right.
Now out there, because out in Sterling, what's the population of Sterling?
Sterling itself is 15.5. But since it's
Okay.
Twin Cities, Sterling, Rock Falls has about
Yeah.
9. So I say it's about exactly the same size as like Glen Ellen ish, maybe a little smaller, just with completely
Okay.
demographics. And I use Glen Ellen for reference because I'm from Glen Ellen originally.
Oh man. Okay. From that area, so you've been
Yeah,
for Illinois for your whole life, so you know all the little
right.
towns and everything.
Yep.
Now, so being in a small area, I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, Sterling Rock Falls is almost by themselves out there, correct?
Yes, really. It's surrounded by corn.
Okay, yeah. So like Iowa,
Yeah,
with corn out
exactly.
there. And I'm going to Iowa tomorrow to see the corn, I should say. But how do you get all your customers? I mean, you have to. What am I trying to say? Basically, how do you grow out of that same pool of people? You know what I mean? I know everyone's having kids and growing and everything else, but is it tough to grow that way out
It is, but no more so than I think any other town where they pull from the surrounding areas because we are out in the country in the boonies. We are just kind of used to having to drive further. So we do get
there?
people from the surrounding smaller towns, Linden, Prophetstown, all the 500 to 1,000 people, mini small farm towns, who will make the drive because there's nothing in their town. Um,
Okay.
so we are still pulling from it's a wider mile diameter than you would in the suburbs. There's just less
Okay.
people per mile.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, do you do anything out there with the law enforcement at all? Do you help train those guys or, self defense and
I do
things like that?
not know. We
Okay.
do have in the basement of our Taekwondo school a holster making business, a custom holster business, and we're very active
Really?
in the firearm community. But we are not
Ah,
as active in like the um, first responder community as we are just
okay.
like the 2A community.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's my hot button, because we all have
Uh-huh.
hobbies outside of martial arts, and I love guns, and I only have one gun, as I'm knocking on wood, wink, wink, wink. In Illinois, I only have one gun.
Right, right.
Now, what's your favorite? Right? What's your favorite gun? What's your favorite weapon out
I am not as well versed on it as my fiance, but I have a 5.7 Glock 5.7 that I absolutely love that he built me. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hey, ain't mad at it. See, I'm one of those guys because I love asking a question different because I know a lot of martial arts and the firearms and stuff, and I love asking. So, what's your
Uh huh.
favorite weapon? What's your favorite gun? And I hear all these things, but I'm like yourself. A Glock to me I love a Glock because a Glock is a brick. You can drop that thing out of a window and it'll still fire. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
just
reliable.
love Glock. It's very
And
reliable.
when
Very, and I
yeah,
have.
and when shit hits the
Go ahead.
fan, that's what you need.
That's what you need. Exactly. And I think I probably threw like, man, thousands of rounds through all my Glocks, and I've only had maybe one or two jams, and that says a
Right.
lot about a weapon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, do you shoot a
Consistency.
lot?
I
Yes.
don't.
Yes.
I shoot maybe 250 rounds a month. Um,
Oh,
if
okay.
that. We do have a local 24-hour range that my fiance is a member of, and he's at like 1,000 rounds a week. Um, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so he brings me in for a day pass all the time. But I am a little more focused on the business side. He's a little more focused on the actual creation of the holsters and the firearms and all the fun stuff for himself. So yeah,
Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. What's the name of
yeah,
his holster business?
the gun tailor.
The Gun Tailor. Okay.
Yes,
That's awesome. I love it. The guns. I'm writing this down
yeah,
here because I'm always looking at different holsters and stuff. And when you're in the firearms, you probably have like 100 different holsters. Going through them and see if
right,
you like them or not. And you find that you don't like 99% of them. But
right.
now, is he also in martial arts with you? Have you trained him in martial arts?
He is privately training through the belts. We've been together for four
Okay.
years. He was in boxing prior to us being together. He did boxing his whole life, competitively and non-competitive, like grassroots competitively. I'm not talking like Golden Gloves or anything crazy like
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
I get it.
he
Yep.
focuses
Got it.
primarily on our teenage boys because we have quite a big group of good teenage boys who we just absolutely love. And he really takes them under his wing and teaches them how to be men, essentially, taking care of women and children.
Okay.
We walk through scenarios because our Taekwondo school is actually in the downtown area with a bunch of bars to either side of us. We do
Hmm.
occasionally have weirdos walking by. And so he goes through scenarios with the boys on putting themselves in between a potential threat and the students while one of them is supposed to go get him, and all sorts of things like that. And just kind of teaching them how to be good men without um, having any sort of attitude about it,
That's
I guess.
okay. 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 Teenage boys with no attitude. Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, good luck. Right, right.
Right. Oh man. Now, in all your training, do you do any weapons? Like edged weapons and things like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Nunchucks are actually they're not an edged weapon, but nunchucks are my
Yeah.
favorite. They
Really?
are, yes. That's actually when you mentioned the 2013 USA National Weapons Championship, that was for nunchucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Oh
Yep.
man.
That's my
Okay.
favorite thing to teach. It's my favorite thing to do. And when I was a teenager and doing dumb stuff and would get myself in trouble, I'd get grounded. The only thing that I was allowed to do was nunchucks. No TV, no
Oh
phone, no
man.
friends, just nunchucks. And that's how I got so good at it because I got grounded a lot.
Because you're in trouble a lot. Well, there you go. That's pretty cool. Now, do you with your nunchuckers? Do you do like what was it? Is it Paul Highland? Is that team? Am I saying that right? The
Paul
uh
Mitchell?
the exhibition team. Paul Mitchell. There it is. Paul Mitchell. Well, I used to watch. I think they still have them. Do they still have those out there?
They do. So Paul Mitchell is a sport karate team. And the way
Okay.
that karate nunchucks versus Taekwondo nunchucks differ is typically the length of the chain is much longer on Taekwondo nunchucks, and the actual material that they're made out of in sport karate is much thinner, and they tend to be wood or something really lightweight, whereas in Taekwondo, they're either a hardwood or a metal. So the ones that I use are aluminum metal. And so if you hit yourself with the sport karate ones, it'll bruise. But if you hit yourself with the Taekwondo ones, they can break bone. So that's the big difference besides the chain length is the material.
Oh, wow.
They're a lot slower. The Taekwondo traditional nunchucks are a lot slower than the speed chucks. And you can also use them single, like a single pair, as compared to double. If you're doing speed chucks, you have to have the two. And the traditional nunchucks are a lot more. It's really hard to say nunchucks are practical in general because they're not in a firearm world, but they're a lot more practical than the little pieces of wood that, and it's no hate because I do have the speed chucks and I think they're awesome. You're limited on the amount of tricks and also the amount of actual striking that you could do if you were to really use them in a real life situation.
Oh man. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you carry them with you?
I did in high school.
That's
I have a pair of collapsible steel nunchucks that I carried in my purse because it was yes.
Are you serious?
Yes, they if you snap them out, they extend like a baton, but they're like double batons with a chain in the middle.
Oh my gosh.
And I never had to use them, but I carried them and never got in trouble for it because, they're not like a real weapon, they're martial arts weapons.
Good way to get around it. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I never heard that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that kind of stuff. Anyway, I love anything weapons. You're sneaking against the system. I ain't mad at it. Now, with Kukkiwon, am I saying that right?
Yes, that is Kukkiwon.
Okay, gotcha. Because I know my neighbor, he's also I think he's a second degree in Kukkiwon. And some of that, you guys still do Hapkido also, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So Kukkiwon itself is the governing body for Taekwondo. They're the ones who do our certificates. So if we want to promote somebody to black belt, we have to have been certified by them already with our black belts, and we have to take their course as their Poom Dan, which is their way of saying degree, 5th degree, Poom Dan, examiner course. Okay. So I have to pass a test, both written and physical, after a 3-day seminar to be able to then issue or submit Kukkiwon applications for my students to get their black belts from Kukkiwon. So Kukkiwon is like the place to go in Korea if you are in Taekwondo. It is eventually, I'm hoping, where I will test for my 8th and 9th degree. When you get to be that high, you have to go to Korea to test. They don't issue them in the US. You have to go over there. So provided I live that long, I want to test for my 8th and 9th degree in Korea at the Kukkiwon.
Oh man, yeah, you got plenty of time. You'll be alive then, hopefully.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, right? You got
right,
time.
Knock on wood.
Now that's interesting to me too, because I'm thinking about at your age, you're 5th degree black belt at 27. Now, how does your belt, black belt times go? So for 6th degree, you got to be in it for how long? And then you go to the next and so on.
After you've had your 5th degree for 5 years, then you can test for 6th. You also have to be 30 years old to be a 6th degree. So if you see anybody who is a 6th degree and they are under age 30, they are not actually a 6th degree in Kukkiwon Taekwondo. Because that is required. Man. So you have to hit both the age and the time. And they do that so that you don't have 40-year-old grandmasters.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's what you know.
So I
That's
am as
like in
high
most
as. I'm sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I am as high as I can be for my age.
Okay. High as you can be. You're talking about. Oh, you martial arts. Got it.
Yes. Ranking. Yes.
No, I'm
I
just
am
messing.
high.
I'm
Yeah.
just messing with you. Now you've been a fifth degree for how long?
Technically, I just got my fifth degree certificate like 6 months ago. Um,
Okay.
However, I tested originally in 2018. I think.
Wow.
So yeah, I tested early. As soon as the 4 years from my last rank was up, I tested. But then I hadn't hit the age requirement, so then the certificate didn't go through. And like I said, there's discrepancies with age and time, and so yeah, I tested for my fourth degree when I was 16, which I didn't actually get
Wow.
the fourth degree certificate till 18 because of age requirements and stuff. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's good. Okay. That's unique. That's very different. But you
Yeah,
started when you were 5. You know what I mean? So, you
right.
know, you know,
And
the age is
it's
there.
also in an effort to keep um, people from being super young and not having done the time, and um, the age requirements and time requirements are there to prevent the everybody gets a black belt kind of thing. There is no age limit for or age
Okay.
minimum for first degree black belt. However, it's not going to be called a first dan until you're 15. The Poom
Okay.
means, you're an underage black belt. And then Dan means like
Ah,
you're a fully fledged black belt. And in Korea, they don't even give kids a full black colored belt. It's black with a red stripe on the bottom. So it's half black, half
ah.
red. And it's called a Poom black belt. And so it's still embroidered with their name and association and everything, and it's still got the rank, and they can get up to fourth Poom if they're under 15, but they're not the full-fledged black belt rank until they hit that. And then it's an
Wow.
automatic changeover. There's no test or anything that they have to do or re-up or anything like that. It just automatically is like, okay, you go from Poom to Dan.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it's so complicated. Well, I mean, you're in it, so you know it. It just sounds so
Right.
complicated, but it's
Yeah.
for a reason. It's for a reason,
Right.
though.
Yeah.
'Cause,
And
I
certificates
had
are
I have.
really.
Let me see.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, no. We
Uh,
have a little lag, so go right ahead.
Certificates, in my opinion, are important because if your instructor is not giving certificates or offering the opportunity to have certificates from a higher governing body than themselves, it kind of loses meaning and importance behind that black belt if there's no certificate other than the school name, because anybody
Mm.
can print a school certificate on a piece of paper. But it means a lot
Yeah.
more if it's coming from an organization that has a curriculum and has textbooks and has all these different paths to black belt.
Gotcha. Well, it makes sense though. It really does. It really does. Like I have one of my black belts I have in Hapkido, and I remember because I did that when I was in college, and you had to have what they call temporary black belt.
Mm-hmm.
It was a black belt with the red stripe. I just remember that
Yep.
black belt with red stripe. You had to hold that for 6 months, and then you had to test again for your first degree black belt. And it
Yep.
was I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. It was just, but we didn't have because our instructor, Grandmaster Young Chin Pak, he was high ranking from Korea, the whole thing, so he gave out certificates there for that
Mm-hmm.
art, which was very unique. So I mean,
Right.
that's pretty cool, man. Now, have you studied any other arts out there, or you just not
I
just, but
also
is that just
studied. I also studied Hapkido in college.
okay? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you like about Hapkido?
I like the practicality behind it. It's a lot more realistic than kicking people in the face. As much as
Yeah.
I would like to say that I've kicked somebody in the face in a real life situation, I have not,
Yeah.
but I have used Hapkido several times. It's just a
Mm.
lot more likely that you're going to be grabbed than struck,
Right.
especially as a female.
Right. Right.
So it's
Exactly.
incorporated in a lot of the women's self-defense courses that I teach.
That was going to be my next question. Do you, teach any women's self-defense? And you
I
do.
do,
Um,
yeah.
do you have a certain time of year you do those? Are those ongoing every month, or how do you do that?
I do them sporadically. I will do a 6-week course here and there if I have any want for it in the community. I also work with the local YMCA. They bring a girls group here every few months to do a self defense course. I also do self defense for models. And then I also have private self defense courses. So if anybody wants to come in and not be around anybody else, it'd be one on one. I also offer that. And my self defense courses I keep at $5 a person. It's been
Wow.
$5 a person since I started doing that, and I don't want to raise it because I feel like martial arts, specifically women's self defense, should be accessible to everybody, regardless of what you can afford. And I feel like $5, like the cost of a sandwich, is well worth an hour of women's self defense time.
Okay. That's I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna argue. That's pretty cool. But I see women as being, and there's I don't want to sound like that guy, being weaker than men and little mouses in the corner. You're
But
not.
we
But
are.
I just think, but yeah,
We
okay, good. I'm
are.
glad you said it. I'm glad you said it.
As a female who has faced opponents who are bigger than them, and I say opponents, I mean attackers,
Mm-hmm.
very, very rarely are you going to be in a situation where you're fighting somebody your same size. Unless you're at the club and fighting some chick who is hitting on your man or whatever, which you shouldn't be doing anyway. Very, very rarely are you as a female going to be fighting somebody who is the same size. You're going to be fighting somebody off of you who is attacking you and trying to hurt you and have power over you. I might be a fifth degree black belt, but I'm still 120 pounds soaking wet and could get the shit knocked out of me by somebody who's 300 pounds if I didn't know what I was doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And the cool thing about listening to you talk about this is you're so realistic. Because I've run across a lot of women out there, and not a lot of them. I'm not gonna say it's not a woman bash thing, but I run across women that I can take that 300-pound guy
Right.
on the streets, and I'm gonna hit him and kick him here. And realism in my head is thinking, yeah, you probably can't.
Yeah.
You got to have. That's why I call the firearm an equalizer. You know what I mean?
Uh
Women should all
huh.
be trained in firearms. Yeah.
Uh huh. And that is always, and women are like, well, what about a taser? Well, what about a knife? Well, both of those are okay, but they're not the true equalizer. And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
you can fight tooth and nail, but at the end of the day, if you have an opponent who is making you stare down the barrel of a gun, if you don't have one yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't care how much Hapkido you're trained, you're not Steven Seagal, you're not gonna, and that was a whole
Yeah.
other thing. Some people think he's, whatever. I'm not even going to touch on that.
Yeah.
But you're not that guy. You're not that fast. You're
Yeah.
not that awesome. You're not going to disarm some dude who's pointing a gun at you. Like, you're just not. It's not realistic.
Exactly. Exactly. And the more you get that in your head, not you, because you understand that, but I think more of the women
Right.
understand that. It doesn't mean that they're lesser than, it's just being smart. It's
Right.
been really smart out there. And I just think
And
every woman should have a firearm.
I personally am not one of those people who think that modesty equals respectability. I'm quite the opposite. Modesty does not equal respectability. And so I will go out to a concert or whatever in short shorts and a crop top and not care. But I also am realistic enough to know that means easy access. A short, tight mini dress means easy access. So if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go to a concert, if I'm going to go to something, if I have to walk down an alley downtown Chicago because I had to park 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away from the concert venue, I'm going to bring a change of clothes. I'm not going to walk in those heels because I want to give myself the best chance of getting away and fighting somebody off. If I'm in a mini skirt, I can't fight. If I'm in tight jeans, I can't fight. I am not going to be as mobile as I should be. And it's not asking for it, but it's preparing for what I like to think is the inevitable. At some point or another, every woman is going to be attacked. You want to prepare yourself. And if you can be wearing shoes that you can run in instead of heels that will make it difficult for you to run in, do it. If you can change from sweatpants into your crop top because it'll be easier for you and safer for you to get from point A to point B, do it. That's not saying that you deserved it if you get attacked and you because you're wearing that. It's okay, you're going to have to fight a little bit harder because it's going to be easier for him to grab that high ponytail, or it's going to be easier for him to catch up to you if you've got stiletto heels on. So besides being prepared with a firearm, it's also important to be prepared as a female out and about, out in public, out at night, to know your surroundings, know what you're wearing, and be able to avoid anything that could make it easier for someone to hurt you.
Wow. I couldn't have said that better myself. I love that you're a young lady out there and you said all of that, which women hopefully are listening to that because that's perfect mindset of self-defense.
Thank
You're
you.
not putting your self-defense in somebody else's hands. You're
Right.
taking responsibility and control yourself. I
Absolutely.
wish I had the applaud thing here. I'd be doing the clapping thing. But that's smart though. You still can enjoy your night out. You can still enjoy your life, but you keep your head on a swivel. You dress appropriately until you not appropriate like modesty. I mean, but you put on the tights, you put on the shoes, you put on
Uh-huh.
everything to stay in the fight. Man, that's
Right.
awesome. That's dang awesome.
You can
Yes.
always have a purse, have a bag, have a change of clothes with you. And I have always carried extra clothes in my car. I think that's something that girls just do. They have extra clothes, a change of clothes in their car. Always just have a change of clothes on you so that you can run and you can move freely. If I'm going to a wedding and I'm in this super, super tight dress and I have to walk from, 6 blocks away, I'm gonna not be wearing that tight dress, or I'm gonna be wearing shorts or pants and hiking up that dress so that I can
Yeah.
move easier and just in case. And then when I get there, that's coming off and I'm good to go.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to give you something here now. I think you probably already got it. You should do a woman self defense tip of the week and put that out. Do a whole video on it every week. I'm telling you, that's pretty cool. If you don't do it, I'm putting it on a shirt.
I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to do it. That's cool. I like that.
There you go. I'm telling you, I think with your mindset, what you're saying, I think women will really grasp onto that. I really do. I've had women in my life, just friends and stuff, and I try to tell them when I know, oh, well, I'm going. Hey, you should do this. You should do that. I'll be fine. Okay, you're
Right.
not my responsibility, so I just let you
Mm-hmm.
live your life. You know what I
Right.
mean? I'm not going to mansplain self defense to you.
Yeah. See, and if my fiance were to tell me, you probably shouldn't wear that to something, it's not because he is being insecure or is worried about me looking a certain type of way out in public. No, it's because he knows that I'm going to have to go from the car to the bar or from the car to wherever. And
Yeah,
that little walk for me as a female is not safe. So
exactly.
um is always a point in time where it's appropriate to wear whatever you want to wear, crop tops, booty shorts, mini skirts, I don't care, but do yourself a favor and try to prevent anything that you can do, because if you can make the odds better for yourself, your trauma is going to thank you later.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right. Wow. I hope you guys, everybody listen to this. And guys, you're listening, you tell your wives or girlfriends, check this lady out. That's what I'm talking about. Smart, smart, smart. That's brilliant. Now, you're doing a lot of other things outside. You do, 'cause I know you said you do modeling, you
I
do
do.
self-defense for models.
I do. So when I go to modeling events, because I am a professional model on the side, frequently they will ask me to sit down with all the models and go over red flags to pick up and tips and tricks on how to get out of sticky situations. Because as a model, I and my peers as well find ourselves in rooms or studios or out in fields with men who have cameras, and sometimes we wind up one on one. And so for a girl to
Mm,
have any sort of self-defense knowledge in the back of her head, it gives a little more comfort to be able to sit in a private room with a man and not have to worry as much about yourself.
wow. That makes sense. Now, I used to do back in the day, I was a bouncer and stuff, and I did work at a couple strip places. And some of the ladies, when they do go to different little shows they would hire me to be their bodyguard for the day because,
Mm-hmm.
like bachelor parties and stuff like that, because
Yep.
it's drunk guys there, as guys are being stupid. You ever thought
Yeah.
about bringing your fiance with you on some of these events?
Actually, that is one of the tips that I give a lot of these models, is to try and have, especially if you are meeting a photographer for the first time, if you don't know them, if you've only communicated with them on social media, to bring a
Hmm.
chaperone. It doesn't have to be a boyfriend. I know a lot of photographers have qualms with models bringing boyfriends because boyfriends can be jealous and yada yada yada. It's
Yeah,
never been an
yeah.
issue with me and my relationship. All the photographers that I know absolutely love Nick, but um, if a model has somebody in their life who can just go and sit and hang out and sit on their phone, they don't even have to be involved. But as long as there's a third party in the room,
Hmm.
it can help tremendously to prevent any awkwardness, anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that makes sense because it makes you feel comfortable. The whole gambit. I think it all
Uh huh.
goes well because back when I was doing those, I was go out there and everybody was happy. Everybody
Yep.
felt safe. She felt safe. Nobody got in the way.
Right.
Now, what got you started doing in the modeling career? You went from kicking ass in martial arts to other things.
So when I was a junior in high school, I did my senior pictures. It was the summer between junior and senior, so technically, I guess I was a senior. But I did my senior pictures and for the yearbook, and I was in my uniform for them. And I had like blonde Farrah Fawcett hair and had my makeup all done and whatever. And these were really cool pictures. And they ended up getting shared on a bunch of Taekwondo news pages on Facebook and got thousands of likes and shares. And it was the first time that I'd ever experienced any sort of viral or whatever. And mind you, this
Well,
is 2014, so being viral back then wasn't what it is now.
right,
Um,
right.
and so because of those pictures, I got reached out to by a couple uniform companies. And those uniform companies sent me a whole bunch of free stuff and said, "Here, take pictures in our stuff." And I said, okay. And I did it. And I had a bunch of photo shoots, all for Taekwondo. Some of them were like beauty shots in the uniform, like headshots and stuff. Some of them were action
Mm.
shots. Some of them really did look like I was in a yearbook photo. Um, but my point is, I got really comfortable being in front of the camera, and I used those photos then to apply for a photography conference in St. Louis called Shutterfest. Every
Okay.
year in April, they host this amazing photography conference with thousands of photographers and models donate their time. The photographers pay to go. It's at Union Station Hotel. It's incredible. And they offer classes on all different kinds of photography, whether it's weddings, boudoir, action, senior, newborn, you name it, they've got classes for it. And so I submitted these photos to be a model for this event, and I was accepted. And while I was there, I also got to rent a wedding dress and shoot in that. I got to do other genres besides just fitness and martial arts. And I realized how much I absolutely love being half naked in front of a camera.
Okay. Okay.
It is unbelievably empowering.
Wow.
And I never ever thought that I would be the kind of person who would want to take boudoir pictures. But after that conference, I was reached out to by a lingerie designer, very small, single person who would hand make all her designs and everything. And she wanted to use my photos as advertising. And I hadn't really done boudoir before, but I was like, cool. I saw a ton of it at this event. I know how professional it is, can be in an environment, and I want to do this. So I got the free set. It was a bridal set, and I did the bridal shoot, and it was amazing, and it got published, and I just kind of went from there, and I just absolutely love it. And so, after doing it for several years, I got to the point where I could charge and feel comfortable charging for my time. So when you first
Okay.
start out as a model, you're not getting paid. If anything, you're actually paying the photographers for their time. You're their client. And then once you get to a certain level, the photographer and the model wind up being on the same level. They do trades, so no money's changing hands. And then eventually you
Okay.
get to the point where people want your image in their portfolio, so they pay you to shoot. And that's where I'm at now. So on the weekends when I'm not teaching Taekwondo, I'm getting paid shoots. I'm traveling all over, and I teach Taekwondo while I'm there. So it's kind
Oh
of the
wow.
best of both worlds.
Oh man, that's pretty good. Doing
Yeah,
martial arts while you're modeling.
yeah.
Holy cow. I love it. That's pretty cool. Wow. Now, well, let me ask you on this. Now, have you gotten much negative feedback from, let's say, the martial arts community? Uh-oh, there it is. I take that as
Yes,
a yes.
yes, very much so. Um, and again, it's more so amongst the peers. And when I say peers, I mean school owners, but of older generations.
Mm,
The school owners who are around my age and maybe a little, 10 years older or so, they're actually really supportive. And they recognize that it's not an inherently promiscuous thing, that it is
mhm.
really professional. But there are, my father included, a lot of people in the older generations who view it as akin to making porn, and it's very much
Yeah.
not. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so trying to balance the line between being a role model for young girls who I teach in martial arts, as well as being a role model to older women, and when I say older, I mean like 18 and up,
Yeah.
in being comfortable and confident in their bodies. It's a very hard line to try and toe, but
Mhm.
I work very hard to also keep them separate. One thing that I've made sure to never, never, never do is shoot martial arts provocatively. When I was
Okay.
a
That's smart.
teenager, I saw, God, I want to say it's Ronda Rousey did
Okay.
like a swimsuit Sports Illustrated kind of shoot, and she was nude, and it was powerful and beautiful, but I just couldn't justify it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so anytime a photographer asks, which occasionally I do get photographers asking that, I politely am like, no, I can't justify that. I can't do it. I won't mix my worlds. And so
Right.
that's why over the last year or so, I've started taking my fiance's name already early within the martial arts community so that I can hopefully eventually have two fully separate social medias, to where one is Jane Dillon Smith is the martial artist and one is Jane Dillon the model.
Wow, that's pretty smart. That is pretty smart. Okay. That's pretty cool, man. And so now, do you have students, parents that look at you and think, "No, I don't want my kid coming here," because
I
I'm sure
have.
they found you out
Yes.
there.
Yes. And they are mostly the same parents who might view, um, if I, which I'm not, but if I were in a non heterosexual relationship, they
Hmm.
would probably also not want to take their kids here. And
Yeah.
if I were, if I wore a Trump hat, let's go polar opposite. They probably
Yeah.
also wouldn't take their kids here. It doesn't matter what my line is, if it's saying I'm a witch or I'm Muslim or I'm Christian or whatever it is. There's going to be people who, if they see me say that, oh, I don't want to bring my kids there. There's going to be
Oh, of course. Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
who, if I were to publish who I vote for, they wouldn't want to bring their kids here. So I try really hard with everything controversial to keep it out of the dojang and out of martial arts. But when it
Yeah.
comes to my modeling, because it's the only other real passion I have in my life, and I found it so much later in life than martial arts, I don't care what they think, because I know in my heart that it's professional and I'm doing it for the right reasons. And it's
Yeah.
not just,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm going to make money off my body kind of thing.
I get it. And yeah, hey, you got to have a fucking attitude with a lot of this stuff. You really do.
Absolutely.
You really do. I was talking to a friend about that fucking attitude, which actually talking last night about it. It was a funny conversation. And you get so much further in life with it. I don't give a fuck. Anyway, I'm
Yep.
going to live my life. You know
Yep.
what I mean? That's pretty cool that you're doing that, girl. That's awesome though, because everyone in martial arts and myself included, you think, oh, it's only martial arts. You got to only be a part of martial arts, but no, we all have hobbies outside of martial arts. I think that makes us more balanced
Right.
out there, And it is what it is out there, and that is cool.
If I didn't have the outlet of modeling, I know I would be burnt out from teaching every single day. I get weekends off, sure, but I don't get to take a week off to go on a trip. And if I do, I have to pay somebody, most likely my little brother, but I have to pay somebody to teach class for me. I can't just leave. I can't just put in for time off. So the burnout linger, like it's the clouding in of burnout is kept at bay by going out and modeling, because I love it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it's really important that other school owners and other martial artists who dedicate their lives to martial arts have other things, because it's so easy to love something but still get burnt out on it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Martial arts, because you're doing the same thing. You literally are for a certain point, doing the same thing over again, even if it's your passion, but you got to do other stuff, man. Mine is traveling. I'm telling you, I don't miss having a school. I don't miss it at all. I just love the freedom of just popping out and going somewhere.
Right.
Getting out away from everything. And I train when I want to, but most of the time I'm somewhere, eating and drinking in the bar. But anyway, nothing wrong with that. on some island somewhere. I just love traveling. So, but man, that is cool. Especially, I know I've said this before, and I don't want to harp on your age, but I think you grasp it at such a young age in the martial arts community. You're 27. You grasp things already. So, you know what, man? When you get up there in years, you know what I mean. You're gonna breathe easier. You're gonna have a better life, I would think. You're better about your surroundings. You won't be as stressed out, man. That's awesome, man.
Hope so.
Yeah, right. Well, you're still young. I'm a Gen X, so
yeah,
we're old. We're old and crotchety.
Technically, I am the tail end, like the oldest Gen Z.
Oh man,
and
still,
I don't
still sorry.
Yeah, right. I don't like to claim that, because I feel like I have a lot more in common with my millennial brothers and sisters. But my students being majority Gen Z, and there are a few Gen Alpha, but it's majority Gen Z. I can relate to them a little bit easier than my predecessors can. And gotcha. I feel like sometimes being younger, I can get through to them easier or relate to them easier.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because a lot of times when they see someone in my age bracket, they think, what do you know? Well, that was back in the day. What are you talking about? They don't want to listen.
When
But you
I was
you
in
hit
high
it.
school less than 10 years ago, like,
Yeah, right. Yesterday,
yeah. And
I
yet
tell you, Jade.
they're still constantly saying things like, anytime I bring up when I was training as a kid, they go, "Oh, what, back in Nam?"
Back in okay. Well, it's probably what it is. I won't say probably. I see it is because you've gotten so far in the martial arts community at your age,
Right.
and you have almost like an old spirit. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
look at you and think, "Isn't she 12? What is she
Yeah.
doing here?"
Yeah.
How often do you get carded out at the bars?
Well, so I actually have never drank.
Whoa, I like it.
So
Okay, okay. Hey, I'm not mad at it. That's awesome.
I work at bars. I've bartended before. But I have never actively been on the other side of the bar. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I wouldn't know.
You know what? And you know what that is? I'm telling you, I say a lot of things are cool, but to me, that's cool. Don't start. Just
Yeah,
hey, if
I
you're
have
comfortable
no.
with your life, don't start.
Yep, I have no
Mm-mm-mm.
plans to.
Yeah, it's like it's not that you're hooked on things, but if you can have that in your holster, I've never had a drink.
Right.
Okay,
I like
okay. How
being
many
able
people can
to
say
say
that?
that.
Yeah, that is awesome. Don't change it, girl. Do
I
not change
won't.
it. Well, I tell you, Jane, this has been an amazing conversation. You are great. You are out there doing things. You're pushing the limit on so many things out there. But before we let you go, how can everyone find you? Give me all your stats so they can hear it. They can look you up all over the place.
Absolutely. So my Taekwondo Instagram and basically anything you want to find me on Taekwondo related is going to be at TKD Girl 307. So Taekwondo Girl 307. My modeling page is Jane Dillon TKD, and you can find me on Facebook with the same names. And my Taekwondo school's name is Legacy TKD.
Oh man, that's awesome, girl. You have a long and bright future. I'm sure you heard that before, but you know what? I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, especially hearing all the stuff you're doing. I know you're busy. We do have to do a part two somewhere down the road so I can hear where
Absolutely.
things are going with you. What have you done now? Because now I'm gonna follow you big times like this because just your mindset. I want to see that school grow. I want to see
Thank
you
you.
prosper out there, and even in Sterling. Even though I hate Sterling, but anyway, because of my car. Well, Jade, I tell you what, you take care. We'll catch you again another time, but I appreciate you more than you know. All right, you take care.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye bye.